Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please enter a conference ID followed by pound. If you're the meeting organizer, press star now. Please enter your PIN and then press pound. After the tone, please record your name and then press pound. You are joining the meeting as the organizer.
Hey, Sarah Scott.
Hello, Paul. We will begin in...
Hi.
Hi, Paul, you're there?
I am.
Good. We're going to start in 1 minute or less.
Okay.
Welcome to the Sunrise School Division Board meeting for April 22nd at 7:09. We will please stand for O Canada if you can, by Hazel Ridge, I believe is tonight. Thank you, Hazel Ridge School. They're always enthusiastic there. I will call upon Trustee Wilson for our treaty acknowledgement.
We acknowledge the traditional land upon which Sunrise School Division resides as Treaty 1 territory. We honor our partnership with Canada's original peoples and respect the gifts of Indigenous history, culture, and language. We commit to moving forward in partnership with our communities in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Thank you. We have the adoption of the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Rowland, seconded by Trustee Dent. Any questions to the motion? Hearing none, we will vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you very much. Well, welcome. I'm Trustee Harris. I'm Vice Chair. We are expecting Trustee Magnon, our Board Chair, shortly, within a few minutes. In the room tonight, we have, as you're going around the room to my left, we have Superintendent Reed, Secretary Treasurer Thiessen, Assistant Superintendent Spielberg, Trustees Dent, Roland. We have a special guest tonight. We'll introduce you in a couple of minutes, if that's okay. We need people to stay tuned. Trustee Smith, Nicol, Rowan, Wilson, Boytson, and our Executive Assistant, Sarah Scott, with us tonight. If you have any questions that come up during the evening and you're watching us and would like to ask that, please send your questions to the email jody.thiessen@sunrisesd.ca. Right, we have share a story. Who would like to do it? Trustee Wilson?
On Thursday, April 17th, I delivered our card of congratulations to David Organ. I stayed to watch the dismissal process. What an organized system. Outside, David and a teacher supervised the students leaving the school. The students that were bused were dismissed first, and once boarding was completed, the buses left and the parents who were picking up their children in cars moved into place. Once the cars were in place, the rest of the students were dismissed. It was organized, synchronized dismissal I've ever seen, organized by David and the staff. Congratulations to them.
Thank you. Trustee Nicol?
From Whitemouth, today they sent 5 JV and varsity badminton players to the zone. And if they win there, they'll be going to the provincials. I think a week ago or so, the junior cheerleading went to provincial competition. The junior cheerleading team got first place, and the varsity cheerleading got second place in that competition.
Trustee Rowan?
Looking ahead, there are many great things happening in our division. At the board level, I'm excited to be doing our tour of the Niverville Complex and connecting with parents at the divisional PAC meeting. OBE is having their kindergarten information night tomorrow evening. SCI and Dougal, they're having their next PAC meetings on Wednesday, April 30th. Oakbank Parents for Ukrainian Education is meeting on Monday, April 28th, and Springfield Music Parents Association will be meeting on Monday, May 5th. Additionally, I'm looking forward to attending ArtSpeak. They have 2 presentation evenings. One is May 1st and the other is May 8th. Having been in the past, it's a great evening of entertainment.
Anyone else? Pretty quiet group tonight. Well, I'd like to...
Robin, can I say something?
If you wish, certainly. Trustee Magnon.
So, Robin, yesterday there was a retirement dinner for our maintenance guy that just retired. I forget his name. Derek Ryback, thanks. And, you know what, very well done, certainly for the people that helped put it on. Trustee Rowan and Trustee Boytson were there as well. Certainly wishing Derek congratulations, as well as Trevor and Jody were there, and Lars. So nice send-off for everybody that did that, to somebody that worked really hard for us, and I think it was 28 years. Congratulations to Derek and to all the people that came out to do that. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Paul. I will add 2 quick things. One, Gillis PAC is having their meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and I would like to thank the board, I assume on behalf of Diane and myself, for allowing us to attend the Capsule Conference, which is the Canada's Education Law Association, a conference 2 weeks ago, where we learned lots of great stuff and brought back a couple of reports that are attached to our agenda. And I don't know if we're going to speak to that directly later or not. If we have questions at that time, we will go then. Yes, Trustee Nicol.
If you don't know, I looked at the Capsule website. All the presentations are up already. Usually they're not up that fast, but all the presentations are up there. There's 25 presentations you can go to. Next board meeting, I'll be making a motion to see if you will let me attend them virtually.
I will reserve comment to that till later on. Then. during the report. Good. We have a delegation tonight. I will let our Secretary Treasurer introduce that.
Thanks, Robin. So tonight we have our feature of the operational department purchasing for tonight. Tracy Weidman has been with the division for a number of years. I have to count on both hands and feet to count that. But Tracy's been part of purchasing for a number of years, leading the purchasing clerk in that department. There's a lot of things that go through the system with requisitions and purchase orders, and Tracy reviews quite a bit of that and provides input and further comments and assistance to the schools. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Tracy. I'll share my screen and just advance the slides when she tells me to.
Thanks, Jody. The procurement process starts with identifying and acquiring a need from an external source, which could be through quotes or a competitive bidding or tender process. Procurement also involves managing any contract resulting from acquiring the need and dealing with any contractual issues with awarded suppliers. The goal is to purchase the highest quality goods and services available for the least amount of money. This allows for additional dollars to flow back into the classroom for quality learning opportunities for the students at Sunrise. In order to achieve this goal, decisions are made to support student learning and fiscal responsibility. We must balance policies, school, and student needs, audits, legislation, and cost savings while being accountable to our funders, ratepayers, and parents. There are a number of functions listed for the purchasing department, both daily and project type and scope. There are approximately 5,500 to 6,000 purchase orders issued in any given school year. Vendor sourcing is constant, and local suppliers are always to be sourced first. Local suppliers can be within the local community, within the province of Manitoba, or within Canada, depending on the good or service being sourced. Purchasing has established some in-house charge accounts within school communities. They include the local co-ops and grocery stores, and local lumber yards such as McMahon and Yates. These are some of the upcoming work in progress projects that I would detail in the slides that follow, and will be completed either by the end of the school year or over the summer months. We have provided notice to the current supplier of the transportation uniforms that we will not be automatically renewing our current contract in August 2025, and will be exploring other options. We currently do not have an existing contract for our maintenance uniforms. The Sunrise is wanting to standardize the supplier for both maintenance and transportation departments. We have experienced requests for an online payment system that would encompass not only online payments by parents for activities, but electronic field trip forms, waivers, and payment for online student store purchases. After much investigation and presentations, we were able to source a software that integrated with our business software, PowerSchool, as well as our student information software. Kev Group will be providing training, and families will also have the ability to contact the customer service line should they experience difficulties logging in after launch. We are excited to now move this initiative forward with our parent community, which will enable them to make payment online and complete forms at their convenience from the comfort of their homes. Behind-the-scenes software work will commence shortly. I would like to thank the board on behalf of the schools for their increased support to the furniture budget for the 25-26 school year. A classroom of 25 students, which is 25 desks and chairs, and a teacher desk and chair, will run approximately between $8,000 to $10,000 pre-tax. For very basic furniture, it does not include items such as resource furniture, book displays, informal study seating, collaboration area, or storage cabinets. This increased funding will certainly assist in providing replacement of student furniture that is aging within the division. The summer purchase is an annual spend with dollars available to all 19 schools. Schools submit their request, prioritized in terms of need, in April of each year. Requests are then reviewed, and dollar amounts to be allocated are determined by student FTE and total amount of budgeted spend for the summer.
Some other determining factors for the allocations that are to be considered would be increased enrollment and emergent needs. An example would be broken desks or chairs. This year, the request to schools was to focus on classroom furniture. This could be student desks, tables, and chairs. Purchase orders are provided to vendors by beginning of May to meet summer delivery schedules. Part of the review of the submissions for the summer spend is to first source requested items from our divisional inventory prior to purchasing new. The inventory at the old bus garage is consistently updated in our database as items are redeployed or removed from schools at their request. Forms are to be signed by schools and at the division level prior to removal or addition to the inventory. This is to ensure tracking of the furniture and keeps the inventory up to date at all times. Many emergent requests by schools throughout the school year have utilized the inventory. World Business Solutions is a Manitoba company who have been supplying us with Kyocera photocopiers and printers since 2016. Over this past spring break, they attended at our sites and schools to provide an updated and concise inventory of our entire printing fleet, both Kyocera and non-Kyocera brands, with the intent of providing us with a recommendation and proposal for replacement as well as new contract terms. The proposal included a refresh of the majority of our high print volume copiers in our division. Their solution also included the addition of PaperCut to the entire copier fleet. PaperCut is a software that will result in a reduction of print volume and will provide data to help shape print in Sunrise School Division. It reduces stacks of wasted print jobs and has a feature for securing sensitive document prints. After review of the recommendation and proposal, we are pleased to confirm a new contract has been negotiated and signed, keeping the proposed annual lease payment in line with the current annual lease payment for another 7 years. The outcome was new devices for same annual lease amount. World Business is currently working behind the scenes with our ICT department to ensure seamless transition of data as devices are replaced. We also have many aging printers that are currently not supported by any service agreements and are at the end of life, and we no longer can source parts or toner. Service agreements provide us with parts, repair service, and toner on Kyocera devices, not to mention a reduced cost per page, which is a cost borne by the school directly. Devices with service agreements also relieve Sunrise ICT of managing repair and service for those devices. The goal is to encourage users to utilize photocopiers for their printing needs as a much more cost-efficient option. Over the years, we have not only provided more copiers in a school, but have moved them throughout schools with a larger footprint to make it easier for staff to access. I can assure the board, given the current global challenges with tariffs and low currency exchange, we are continually trying to find a balance for local purchasing within the community, municipality, Manitoba, and Canada as per our divisional procedure. To achieve this balance in local purchasing, not only is lowest price considered, but suppliers need to provide information pertaining to warranty, shipping and install charges, manufacturer location, as well as vendor shipping location and timeline. If we continually outsource to non-local suppliers, the local suppliers will cease to exist. The local suppliers consider student safety for their products, attend on site for planning or warranty or repair issues, and provide direct customer support, as well as in some cases their own company delivery as well as install. There are times when this is simply not attainable. However, every attempt is made to find an alternate cost-efficient local solution. Purchasing is going to be providing some refresher training to secretaries via Teams at a mutually convenient date and time. As we have now implemented credit cards to 13 schools, we are undertaking to provide some refresher training on completing and submitting the credit card reconciliation spreadsheet that is required to be submitted to accounts payable monthly with the credit card statement. The outstanding open PO report is a resource for schools to follow up on any outstanding orders they may have not received from the supplier or have not been invoiced for. Schools are also required to keep this list as current as possible for accounting purposes for March 31st and June 30th year ends. Okay, sorry. No, that's good. That's good. You can go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. So I know your agenda is full, so I thank you very much for allowing me to present tonight. So if you have any questions, I can answer those now.
Thank you, Tracy. Questions? Trustee Rowan.
Thanks for the presentation. I noticed that you indicated that credit cards have gone out to all of the schools. I know that's something that a lot of the schools that we were talking to were advocating for. Have you gotten any feedback from them on how that process looks now that they're out to everybody?
Yeah, we touch base with them on a regular basis. I think it really has sped up their online purchases for things that require the credit card, that they won't accept a PO, because we have encouraged them that the credit cards are the last resort if they don't accept POs. So they seem to have caught on to the reconciliations. We haven't had a problem with the submissions for payment or anything like that. So I do think that there was efficiencies for them to be able to actually do it on their own as opposed to that extra step of having us do it centrally.
Trustee Smith.
I had a question regarding the online payment option, the school cash. How is that going to be handled at the school? Is it going to be used for field trips? Is it going to be used for like hot dog days? How is that going to be used, and how is that going to be brought back to you guys in the end? I might defer some of that to Jody for answering, but we will still leave the option open for parents to be able to pay with cash. This is just a convenient option for them, that they're able to sign the waivers and pay online, at the convenience of their home at whatever time they wish to do so. But we are still leaving that other option open so that they can sign the paper form or they can provide the cash. But how it integrates back with our school, I'll let Jody speak to that.
Yeah, so School Cash from a product by Kev Group. The idea is the product pulls the data from our student information software. So as long as there's a student in our enrollment, the system pulls that information. So the schools don't have to duplicate the name. Like Jody Thiessen is going to school here, and now we have to set them up in the new system. It integrates fully that way. What it could be used for is field trips. Like Tracy said, there's forms that parents have to complete. We will have to work with some of our staff out of the education center to make sure that the forms are accurate and that we have it updated. But online forms as well as online payment for those field trips. Where you mentioned hot dog day, it depends on who is actually running the hot dog day. Sometimes there's a number of packs. The PACs have Munch-a-Lunch or another software that they use. Those funds get deposited into the PAC's bank account. So that would be separate. It's not going to go into our bank account. So if they want to have a hot dog day, the PAC can still do their Munch-a-Lunch and through their software. We can do that, but it wouldn't be PAC money. What we also have, the cash group, not only, or the cash program, not only is it operating, it could be school funds. So if people are buying or making a payment for their grad and they have to make a deposit, or a field trip where they're traveling for band, they can make a deposit depending on how it's all set up. So, and then there's the donation side, where if there's a donation they want towards a playground, we can actually do a deposit online. The schools actually wouldn't see the online payments. It would just be a back-end document that is an Excel spreadsheet that basically gets uploaded into our accounting software. Where the schools are going to see reconciliation is actually when the families make a cash or check payment, when the teacher actually says, Mrs. Smith sent money with her family and they checked it off for the student, and the teacher then sends the money to the office to be reconciled. That's the only time they're going to see some reconciliation. So it's going to, the goal is to lessen the workload on all parties involved. And the reconciliation actually happens on the system, where a teacher can see all the payments that the classroom made and see what forms are outstanding, what students still have an outstanding balance that they have to pay. That's all integrated.
kind of like when you sign my son up for hockey or soccer. You pay the thing, you sign the waiver online, it's all done, and then you get the receipt. Because the waivers would be online as well now?
Yeah, so it will take some time to get it fully set up. Like we talk about a soft launch, there may be some things that will not be set up completely 100% by the fall, just because of the timing and how we're going to set it up. And maybe some of the schools want to take a slower approach. But the goal is to have everything online and make majority of the payments online. So yeah, the ultimate goal is payments online, forms are completed. Yeah, that's where we want to land at the end of the day.
Thank you. Our chair, Trustee Magnon, has arrived, so I'm going to pass the proverbial gavel over to him.
Thanks, Robin. Are there any other questions for Tracy? Trustee Nicol.
I was glad to see that you are promoting local, and if not local, then Canadian. So I was glad to see that. But my question is that you have a chance when somebody puts a purchase order in, do you have a chance to tell them they can't order from a certain place because it's not local, that you know for sure that you bought local? And the reason I'm asking you is that by the time I get to approve the invoice, they've already spent the money, and it's very hard for me to say, hey, we're not going to pay you the money because they've already bought the stuff from somewhere in Texas, and I know very well they can get it in Dollar Tree for the same amount of money. So do you have a chance to stop the purchase before it goes outside of Canada?
Yes, I see every requisition that's submitted. So if I know for a fact that we can get that product local, then I will have a discussion with the school of, why are you purchasing it from the U.S. or, outside our local area. The schools are really good at paying attention to that now. If they can source it local, they will. They actually make a notation on all their requisitions saying they've tried to source it, Staples, Artist Emporium, wherever the product isn't available. So we always encourage the local, and the schools are pretty good at observing that as well.
Anyone else for Tracy? So Tracy, I have a question that I ask all schools when they come and present, and I guess the managers too. So my question is, how do we know, so when I ask a school, when they talk about a goal and they talk about their reading, I ask them, how do we know it's working? I ask them is that, how do you demonstrate that what you're doing is working? So I guess my question to you is, how do we know that the purchasing department is working? And maybe you have the answer now, and maybe you need to come back to it, and that's okay. And I guess the other question is, what's the feedback that you get from our departments and schools about purchasing?
Well, we constantly collaborate with principals on different types of projects. Whether it be furniture project, it'll be the Cole-Dugald Library, Positor Early Years Library, the medicine wheel furniture at Powerview that was purchased last year. So we're in constant collaboration with them. So our goal is always to meet the needs of the students and the school. And that's the end result should be successful. We're always, buy the best product for the best price while adhering to policies and procedures. I think we have a really good working relationship with all our suppliers. The renewal of the photocopier lease is a prime example. They're holding the pricing for another 7 years. And we've done business with them since 2016. So that would be an example of success with vendor working relationships. We've also had vendors donate to our divisional PD day as recognition of our business that we do with them. I think Sunrise has a success in the fact that we're the only rural school division that sits on the Metro Purchasing Committee. So we're able to piggyback onto their tenders, the furniture tender being a very large one that we're able to have cost savings from. We can sit in on the meetings and share ideas and practices and procedures. So there's not measurable data, but I think overall we have a very good working relationship with all staff in the division and external users.
So I would say that there probably is some measurable data, just as what you just mentioned is about, I guess if we weren't involved with Metro with regard to purchasing, that then for us to buy a chair, I'm just going to use this, Metro gets a price on a chair, and other school divisions that are not part of Metro get a different price. So I would say then that is a measurable thing for us to go ahead and have with regard to purchasing, because of us being able to purchase together through your work, is that is identifiable, that the chair, instead of being $200 is $190 because with Metro. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, it's definitely a fair comment. I'll use the jive stool that's purchased quite frequently in the division. So on our tender price is almost half of what the competitor's price is. So that's a cost savings right there on just that chair. So we do, I will occasionally just go out if there's like a unique item that maybe I could purchase off tender. I will get like more than one quote, and generally the tendered items are substantially cheaper.
And then the feedback, Trace, that you get from schools, what kind of feedback has that has been growing toward?
Well, they're always happy to save money. It means more dollars saved means more opportunities for the students. Sometimes we get, there's a bit of a discussion because I'd rather purchase this from here. When there's tenders and contracts involved and processes and procedures, we're not always able to allow purchases of that nature, but we do have discussions. It's not just a one-sided, that's the way it is. And sometimes we do have to go off tender. For instance, if they have like unique items, I'll use that example, but a 5-legged chair, that isn't on tender. I only have 4-legged chairs on tender, right? So we do come to, and then again, we source from other suppliers so that we know we're getting the best price.
We buy 5-legged chairs?
If you want one, Paul, I'll find one for you.
Anything else for Tracy? So thanks, Trace, for coming. Oh, sorry, Alicia?
How long until our cleaning product tender is up? Because we're spending a lot of money on cleaning products right now. Like I think we're over budget on that, or getting pretty close. And Lars, what was that company that we have access to that we can kind of share? We have that. Yes. Is it Metro?
Sorry, Alicia, I'm not sure.
I spoke to them about last month, and it was a club that we're part of, so we get different prices on deals. What was that group that we're part of?
Alicia, how does Lars know about?
I talked about it last week, and he said the name, or last month, and he said the name. It was a club that we pay money in to get deals on government pricing.
So like, it's not Costco because we pay into, all this. I hear what you're saying.
It might have been Clark Kent you were speaking to. No.
All right, well, we'll move on. I don't, you know what, I think that Lars, you can ask Lars. I think that you can ask Lars off. Yes, Trustee Rowan.
Just to further that example about the 5-legged chair, is there a time when you would say to that school administrator that 5-legged chair is outside the scope of what we would require, and here's our 4-legged chair that complies with our requirements as a school to provide? Like, is there ever a time when that happens, that you would, a school administrator would be pulled back from taking that unique item?
I would say yes, definitely there are examples like that that do pop up. But I think the communication that we've had with Tracy as our purchasing manager is we don't want her in the position of saying no to schools. That when she flags something of that nature, it comes back to Jody or I for the sort of the final decision on what happens there. Yeah. Anything else? I am going to ask about five-legged chairs later, but anything else? All right, thanks very much, Tracy, for coming out and presenting. We appreciate it. And of course, now we know that you're here. You're going to probably, our meeting probably only lasts another hour and a half, so sit tight and thanks very much. No, you don't have to stay. Thanks very much, Tracy.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so we are next up with our minutes. So April 8th, we have our regular meeting minutes. Be it resolved that the board approve the April 8th meeting minutes. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Trustee Nicol and seconded by Trustee Boytson. Any questions to those minutes? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. So we have 2 abstentions and it passed 7-0. Thank you. We have our superintendent's report. Mr. Reid. Thank you. Just a few things to highlight. On April 15th, we did have our annual Sunrise School Division Recruitment Fair here at the Education Center. There was about 30 people that came through that evening looking, various job opportunities throughout the school division. That was a little bit low. We were a little bit disappointed with the turnout, but that might just be more reflective of there's just not a lot of people looking for work, and it's kind of a job seekers market at the time. But hopefully we did make some good connections. A couple of substitutes, that came out of that evening, and some people that are interested in working for the school division. So hopefully we can firm up some of those connections. And just thank you to Kristen Ursel and our division principals for organizing that evening for us, and thank you to a whole list of people that came out and shared their time to answer questions and greet people as they came in. So April 9th was the first of 3 sessions for our leadership development cohort. So that's an invitation that's sent out to basically all of our teaching and administrative staff, where they get to come together for a few times every spring and learn a little bit about leadership. So at our first session, we had 16 participants, and it was very well received. Taking a little bit of a different angle at it this year. Traditionally, we've sort of just looked at educational leadership in general that may apply across all positions. While we're welcoming anyone regardless of their intent, we did let attendees know that we're looking at more of an administrative focus this year. So we are focusing our sessions on the skills and the attributes found in the Manitoba School Leadership Framework. And that's a little bit by design, is because, we don't really know when anyone's going to retire or resign, but, projecting out, we do look over the next couple of years, we may see some retirements across the division, and we want to get people ready to fill into those positions or backfill into positions where other people may be making lateral moves. And so, on April 2nd, Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning announced they would be providing some extra money to schools for pre-calculus support. There was some disappointment right across the province in terms of the pre-calculus math results from the 23-24 school year. And so the province has stepped up with some extra support. I think I've already flagged for the board that Sunrise, even prior to this money being allocated, Sunrise has flagged that as an area for growth and something we would be targeting, this spring and into next year. So the addition of the extra $30,000 that Sunrise will be receiving is a nice addition, because it's actually going to help pay for the initiatives that we were going to be looking at anyways. And so that's a great opportunity for Sunrise. Just going down, and another sort of big announcement that aligns with work that is already going on in the school division. Again, Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning announced the required use of a universal reading screeners for our early years students. And an early years reading screener would be something that would identify students who are at risk of struggling with reading behaviors or learning how to read moving forward. Again, with the literacy initiatives that we've been undertaking in Sunrise over the last couple of years, we've actually been piloting several of these screeners already in some of our schools, and so this is not something that's new to us. And so as we move forward with the required initiative from Manitoba Education, we're well positioned to hit the target of having the screeners in place in all of our schools for next September. And then just finally, last week, of course, was Education Week in Manitoba. And if nothing else, it's an excellent time to say thank you to all of the people in the school division who are investing in the education of our students in our schools. So thank you to all of our employees for the work that they do. Thank you.
Thanks, Trev. Any questions for Trev? Trev, I want to make, oh, go ahead, Trustee Rowan.
I'm sorry, but could you give an example of like what our screening tools look like for students? Like, what would that be?
So just general speaking, a screening tool would be probably an oral assessment that a teacher would give to a student one-on-one, probably take in the neighborhoods of 10 to 15 minutes to administer, and it may be in the neighborhood of 9 to 15 questions that a teacher would ask a student. And they would target very specific reading behaviors. They may asking, children's identify to rhyme, to identify letter sounds, whatever the case may be. We'll actually probably learn a little bit more about screening tools at the DPAC meeting, hopefully on Thursday night. That might be one of the things that's on one of the presentation agendas. But yeah, so it's very simply a one-on-one assessment that a teacher would give to a student, focusing on those skills to see whether or not they had acquired them or not.
Anything else for Mr. Reid? Trev, I want to make one comment. So part of my role with MSBA is that I'm going to the different school divisions to bring greetings on behalf of MSBA and sit in on one of their meetings. And I think I shared with you that I just ended up going last week to Evergreen School Division. So I was out in Gimli, and I went to their meeting. And Don, you'd be particularly interested in that. In this is that Evergreen announced at the meeting that they won recognition from the province for their pre-calculus grades. They scored 82.5% divisionally in pre-cal math. And I was saying that's awesome, and I really haven't even shared that with Trevor yet. But they put some kind of initiative, as kind of Trevor, you're talking about it, and they've been at it for a little while, and they've got the best scores in the province. So a little small school division, is doing something right, and so part of me was saying, okay, I want to beg, borrow, and steal from that school division as to what's going on, and I think that's exactly what we try to do when we go out to MSBA and try to beg, borrow, and steal and share as much as possible from other school divisions as to what they're going ahead and doing. But anyways, back to that. Thanks very much, Trevor, for the presentation. We're going to move on to Secretary so we have a board reporting schedule. It's there for information. And if anybody wants to add to that, comments to that, thanks, Trevor, for keeping it there. And so 7.1 is Secretary Treasurer's report. Jody?
I think the best report of the night. It's only one page. That should be great. So just a couple updates. Transportation. I just want to highlight, we've talked about from Trevor's report that it's important to recognize it was Education Week, and it's important to recognize all the hard work at the schools. On April 16th was our School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. So just a shout out to our many bus drivers who wake up early morning, drive our wonderful gravel roads, and I say that sarcastically, but especially this time of year, but they drive the gravel roads and within the municipalities here and there and keeping our kids safe. So I just want to say shout out to the bus drivers and all the hard work that they're doing right now. We do have a lot of effort being made right now trying to find bus drivers, specifically spare bus drivers. We've unfortunately had to cancel a few runs over the last little while, so it's important for us to continue that search, get the word out there that we have a program that if a bus driver does reference or refer somebody who does secure a position here at Sunrise. They get a bit of a kickback. I think it's $300 just being the reference that we were able to secure a new driver. So those initiatives have worked well, but it's the sign of the times. We're kind of drying up out of our spare pool, and just not a lot of people kicking the tires to say to try and be a bus driver. But I think it's important that we get the word out there. There's a lot of good hard work being done out of the transportation department, but so that's one thing I want to recognize, that yeah, we've gone to career expos. There's been our career expo here last week, but yeah, we hope to continue the pursuit of additional spare bus drivers. The department is also very busy on bus evacuation drills. They've started with the students. There's been some occurring last week and even this week as the weather and temperatures are getting better. And we got an update on our school buses. It looks like the fall, specifically around September, we're going to get the new buses that we've ordered. So we're pretty excited about that. Finance has been busy. As you saw from Tracy's presentation, that the inventory for our printers and multi machines, the ones that can photocopy, scan, and all the fun stuff. So we did an overhaul of the total inventory. Gold Business Solutions was doing an evaluation, and they're going to be providing some further comment on the older, obsolete printers. What are our options? Because as those machines are becoming outdated, it's harder to source those toners, and the cost. Some toners are only available in the states that we have to pay extreme shipping, as well as the exchange. So looking for alternative sources for the schools is our main drive to find and keep it local. We've also had a finance member that's way on medical leave right now. So our finance department's running a little lean right now, but thankfully we brought somebody back from retirement. Lisa Nitition's going to be filling in for a couple days to help out over the next couple of months. So we'll be able to make sure everybody's being paid and nobody's missing payments and all that good stuff. So other work that's being done, ICT is getting ready to start installing some interactive displays. That would be our large, or also known as the old smart boards or lofts. They're going to be looking at, or they're going to be receiving the shipments soon. We're looking at mid-May as a delivery date, and they'll be starting the installation process for all the schools that have been that placed in order. Other things that they're going to be looking at shortly is working on finding other board meeting options for our audio and video. Unfortunately, last meeting we weren't able to record and share online our last presentation or our last meeting. We had some technical difficulties. We did bring in a vendor to help us tonight. We're live online, but we want to look at other options to make sure that we're running and operating, and that our millions of fans can watch us online. So that's something we're going to be looking into. Another thing, we said goodbye to Derek Ryback as he retires. We brought him back out of retirement to be a consultant. So I get to wear the maintenance hat for a couple days a week, and but Derek's also here as a consultant to help me out where the information that I'm not familiar with. It's been a good experience. I really get to emerge myself into the maintenance world and see what's all going on. And I have to say we do have a really good maintenance team. Our head custodians are very passionate about their schools. Even sitting down with some of them yesterday, it was really nice to know and have the casual conversations about what goes on in their lives and how passionate they are at the schools. So it was really nice to see and chat with them outside of work-related matters, but we have a good group, a really good group, and I recognize that they will miss Derek. So whoever's filling Derek's shoes, hopefully they're ready to take over that challenge and keep those personal connections. So it's really good. But training for the new operational clerk as well for maintenance is underway. And the last thing that we've been keeping the pulse on is Springfield Collegiate with their capital project. We did receive the final inspection report. Derek reviewed it. and it's in my inbox now to review and follow up with any of the outstanding deficiency lists. So I understand that there has been deficiency, the deficiency list has been looked at and is being worked on, but now it's just to see what's still outstanding on that deficiency list before we release any further holdback. So it is coming close to the end. I do know I need to talk to the school principal to make sure that they're comfortable with the results of the deficiency list and what has been tackled. But yeah, understanding where we're at, and we're close to the finish line with that one. So that's really good. And kind of the last two things are very important under miscellaneous. It is the daycare updates. So I do know one of two, there's definitely a bit of a daycare update. The province has closed the tender. This is the tenders that would bring in kind of like prefabricated daycares to our sites. We were awarded a while back that Enola and Centennial School would be receiving these prefab daycares. So I do understand the tender's closed. John Q. Public may be the awarded vendor. They have reached out to myself, and there has not been an official letter sent, but I do know John Q. Has been poking around the areas where we'd be suspecting to place the daycare. They want to start construction by early summer, so they want to get the groundwork done, the surveying part. So we've identified that they're at Centennial School. Somebody did poke around. They did reach out to me and say they might send somebody to do a survey of the land, just so they know where they're going to be positioning this daycare facility. However, no official letter has been provided from the province, so it's still a wait and see kind of game. I do know that as soon as we receive that information, we'll be contacting the schools and the interested parties, because we will have to also start a process to find a daycare to run inside those schools or inside those facilities. So that's going to be step 2. And then there was some discussion about a before and after daycare program inside Dugald School. So earlier, or at the end of last week, I chatted with Mr. Andrew Mead, as well as 2 individuals from the Dugald Daycare, and looking at options for just running a before and after school program. About 30 students might be eligible, depending on the square footage of the space that would be used. So we're in the discussions on what's the best suitable location. We've already ruled out the portable because it doesn't meet the daycare code. So there's a couple other options that we're discussing, and hopefully by the fall we can have something in place for our families in Dugald. And that's it.
Any questions for Jody? Trustee Dent?
Yeah, you'd mentioned that we're going to receive the buses in September. I know we had ordered them in February. Just wondering if they were able to honor the estimate that they gave us, or if there were tariffs attached to that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have been fortunate. Our order has been placed with the manufacturer Bluebird, and they have not come back about higher bus prices. There's been another vendor out of that same tender that did increase their prices, but we have not received any information about it going up. But I guess we'll find out when the buses are received. But right now, the vendor has said they don't anticipate increasing.
Can I go on record in saying that Dustin, Trustee Dent, that started talking about buses? Thanks very much, Jody. Much appreciated. Anyone else? Question for Jody? Thanks, Jody. Board business, you have that for information. Student engagement activity report. I know when we started this, we wanted to find out what were going on in different schools. Well, the list continues to grow, because I'm pretty sure that schools are looking at the report and saying, hey, what does someone else do? But it does go to our staff for congratulations for the work that they're going ahead and doing with that activity. Any comments on that, or anyone on share? So thanks to our staff. Thanks for providing us that information. 8.2 is Ukrainian language report. We asked Trevor to bring something for us. Trev, floor is yours. Yeah, so just having a quick look at the report. Page 1 there is just what I entitled the provincial background information. That's all information that is taken from various provincial policy documents, Public Schools Act. So that's pretty much a cut and paste verbatim, word for word of the information that's publicly available. When we get into the second page of the report there, it did provide a summary of what has been going on in both schools. I think the key takeaway there is while each school is making some structural changes to the school and how they're offering the program, the actual time that they're offering the program to students isn't changing. So that remains the same. The one piece of learning that I came across is doing this is we are not accurately reporting to the province the offerings of the programs. And so we are accurately reflecting our programs to our parents in terms of how we're advertising the programs to parents. That is accurate, but we're not accurate in our reporting to the province. We are over-reporting the amount of time that we are using Ukrainian as the language of instruction. And so if we were going to do that reporting accurately, that will have a budget impact that I've outlined there. That won't have a substantial impact necessarily on our schools, but I think it was approximately $6,300 less, which we'll be able to absorb. That won't cause chaos across our system in any way, shape, or form. So we just need to make sure that we're accurately reflecting that in our annual reporting to the province. So.
Any comments or questions? Trustee Rowan?
Trevor, you outline in here what's happening with kindergarten at OBE for the Ukrainian class. And I'm curious to know, one, if you could just confirm that those students that are wanting to pursue Ukrainian come grade 1, they will be able to do so next year. And two, if there's a large influx between now and start of school next year for kids that are interested in taking that Ukrainian bilingual program or that Ukrainian language program starting in kindergarten, is that something that they're going to be able to then potentially look at offering, or we're for sure going this route here where they will be integrated into the English program with some Ukrainian time?
So in my conversation with the school principal, to answer your first question, yes. So the students that have registered for the kindergarten program this year, when they hit grade 1, they would join a cohort in a 1-2 classroom that would be all Ukrainian students. So is that what you were asking with the first question? Yeah, so that's there. The second part, I would expect all of our schools and any of our program offerings to be responsive. So yes, if we did see a large influx, the school does have the staffing to have, a unique or distinct kindergarten program that focuses on Ukrainian language courses or Ukrainian language offerings. So, knowing that they're rolling the 6 existing registrations into a larger class, we did not pull any staffing back from the school. And so they would still have their existing staffing. And so if they need to, if they get I don't know what the number would be, and I don't want to commit to that at this point in time, but let's say they had another 14 registrations for a total of 20, I would expect that that would be its own unique cohort. So.
Thank you. I appreciate having that information. I know OPUE is looking at trying to do a drive to draw people into their program. So if they're successful, that may be something that the school may need to consider, but so I just wanted to know what the possible outcome was there.
Anyone else want to comment on this? So when I saw this, I gave Urs Denica a call. So Urs Denica is our longtime, has been kind of the push behind our program. At one time, we took him as he was close to retiring, certainly with regard to a push with regard to this. And because I wasn't under the same assumption as Trevor, I thought that we had a bilingual program where our instruction was more closer to the 38 to 50% of time. Well, it hasn't been like that for a long time, as when I talked to Urs. So I was surprised,
because we continue to talk about Oak Bank Elementary as a Ukrainian bilingual school. Well, it hasn't been that way for quite some time. So I just wanted to share that, but I reached out to Oris and I go, is this really that way? Because that wasn't my belief at all. Trustee Rowland?
I was surprised by this data too. My kids have gone through their Ukrainian program. And my niece and nephew did as well. And I've been able over the last 25 years to see the actual, I would interpret it as like a decline in learning of the language. And I guess it's now attributable to the actual time spent speaking. And I had actively spoken to teachers at the time, like encouraging them to speak more Ukrainian with my kids than while they were in the school. I felt like maybe they weren't able to, I don't know if it was just my kids or, whether or not maybe fluent in their language. But I'm just wondering, like, why is that happening and why are we not, why did we drift away from the initial program, which was quite bilingual, which I know people graduated that could fluently speak Ukrainian. Like, why did we go away from that and we go back to a more fulfilling program?
So I think that there's only one trustee that's been around here long enough to go ahead and answer that question, and I haven't asked them to do that, but Don would be the only trustee around because none of us were do that. Well, Lorraine was hit and miss, I guess, certainly. I don't know, because, well, the two of you can try to go ahead and answer the question. Go ahead.
When I was a trustee, it definitely was a bilingual program. My children were in it, and they were getting 50%. I believe that the program started to fall apart when the school division, I wasn't here any longer, decided not to bus the kids for the bilingual program. So if they wanted to go to Oak Bank for the bilingual Ukrainian, they had to enter it by schools of choice. Where my kids went, it was as program offered. So because it was a program not offered in our catchment area school, they could access it and got bused. But for some reason, the school division stopped the busing, made the people enter it through schools of choice, which meant they had to drive their children. And so I think that's where the demise of the program began. So people had to drive their children. They opted out and sent them to their local catchment area.
And how long ago was that?
I know for a fact that my granddaughter is 12 years old now, and when she entered kindergarten, my daughter wanted to enroll her in the Ukrainian program and was told that she would have to enter through schools of choice. So already at that time, so she's in grade 7 now, at that time, they were not busing the kids. They opted, they would have bused her to the French program, so they would have bused her to Oak Bank. She could transfer bus and go to Dougal, but she couldn't have stayed in Oak Bank and taken the Ukrainian program. So I believe that the program started falling apart at that point.
So I can tell you that there was a few of us that started as being trustees 7 years ago, and we never had this conversation. So I would say it's long before that. Trustee Rowland?
Just to further clarify, I understand about maybe enrollment going down. It does fluctuate over time. Sometimes there's a little bit. This has happened in the past where there's been not enough for a full classroom, and then they'll come back. So it comes and goes. But what led to the course content? Because even if there was 5 kids or 25 kids, why did they reduce 50% speaking Ukrainian down to 14% speaking Ukrainian? Because even if there was 5 kids, should they not receive a full program education?
I kind of kicked the tires on that question myself, and we just really couldn't find anyone who's had enough legacy with the program, the front line of the school, to speak to that change. And so we'd be guessing at this point. But to answer the second question I think you asked in your first comment is, can the program be reestablished? If that's a priority for, parents, school division trustees, yeah, we can absolutely start looking at that. Yes. Now, that would probably take some time to build back up because I'm not sure what the current staffing capacity would be at the school to offer, that volume of language at the school. That'd be something we would need to look at. But yeah, if it's a priority for the school division, if it's a priority for, parents in the community, we can definitely look at building things back up.
So I think what I heard from Mr. Reed, was that if the 9 trustees here think that we should have a Ukrainian bilingual program and have a bilingual program in saying that that's between 38% and 50% of your instruction, not necessarily about your culture, learning your culture, it's about the language of instruction, we can make that decision. It's a budget decision for us to go ahead and make because of the staffing that's needed and those kind of things. It's also, I think what we just heard from Lorraine, is that if we're going to go ahead and do that, are we going to bus people from around the area to the program? So all those things would need to come into consideration, but it would be up to the 9 of us to make that decision. And I think that if we're looking to, if that's something that we would want to know, then I think that then we would be asking Mr. Reed to put that information together to find out what the cost is for us to go ahead and do that. The busing issue might not be that easy for him to estimate, but that's something the 9 of us would go ahead and make a decision on. I've got Rowan and then Smith. Go ahead.
I think the other question that I would be interested in, if we're asking Trevor to bring back a report, is to find out why some of the numbers are declining from the Ukrainian language program. Is it because they're not getting that instructional time, so they've decided to go to the English program? Or is there something else that's driving that? Because if we don't have the buy-in from the community, it's not going to be potentially something that we want to invest in if it's not going to be utilized.
Thanks. Did you want to add anything, Alicia?
Mine was just the buy-in to the community, because if we don't have a want, then there's not much to it. Because yes, I am 50% Ukrainian, but my boys would never do it. You know what I mean?
So it's a two-edged sword, right? It's whether we have the program and whether we have the people that want to take the program. However, if it is something that we want to go ahead and look into and have Mr. Reed look into, well, then we would task Mr. Reed to go ahead and do that. But if we don't want to, then let's not task it, because it's quite an undertaking, because he does need to go out to the public to find out if there's the demand for it, because we would need to go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Trustee Dent.
I think this is a quick one. I'm just wondering, with our current roster of staff, if they have the ability to offer that type of instruction, that's 35 to 50% as opposed to the 14 that they're offering right now.
I wouldn't have that information, but it's pretty easy to find that out by having a quick conversation with the school.
Trustee Bowen?
A quick question. Who sets curriculum for a Ukrainian program? What's to be covered in the Ukrainian? And also, just one last thing is, I think maybe what you're saying too about the buy-in. I would feel, because I was in this program, I would not have imagined as a parent that this is the least amount of time or the most amount of time my children would be being instructed in Ukrainian. There's an assumption on my part as a parent that it was called bilingual, that they were getting more than this. So part of it would be like educating and feeling out what is currently there. Maybe they don't want more, but I would think many would be surprised at this figure, what's going on in the door.
So just to go back to your first question, there is around curriculum. Curriculum is the same. So the interesting part, though, is Ukrainian is one of the very few heritage languages in Manitoba where the province actually does have support documents specifically for Ukrainian language program. And so, but curriculum by and large would be the same. And in terms of language of instruction, I'm not sure why this is the case, but as I sort of indicated in report, only language arts, social studies, art, and phys ed can be taught in a heritage language. And, sorry? Set by the province, yeah, that's part of provincial policy. So your other subjects, for example, math and science, are not to be taught in the heritage language and can only be taught in English or French. And so.
I would just be curious to know if there were any children who signed up for kindergarten this year and were not given the option of busing if they wanted to be in the Ukrainian program. So I did bring this up about 2.5 years ago, wondering why we're not busing these children that are in the Springfield area when the buses go right by their place because they're picking up the kids for French. And I don't know where that ever went to, whether it was offered or it wasn't. So if thinking of signing their kids up for kindergarten and find out they can't be bused, I mean, definitely they would probably be discouraged by that.
I assume there is good rationale for considering this program at OBE because it was existing. It would also beg the question, though, of are we considering this for other places that would then demand a heritage language instruction? So if we're going down that road, are we willing to consider this, or what's the rationale for considering it there at that school?
I wouldn't be, Lars, and I wouldn't entertain that myself. There's 8 others that are there. But it was my assumption that we had a Ukrainian bilingual program. It was my assumption. When I talked to Trevor about it, he goes, oh no, we're only probably about 14%. I was always of the belief when I was in Sunrise that we had that program here. I remember that we weren't busing kids, and where I was shocked when I heard that there was 4 kids that were in grade 4, grade 5 for next year. That wasn't my understanding as to where we are. I would like to have Trevor bring us back some more information about it, and maybe it means that we've got to do a lot more work. But as of right now, there's lots of good questions. And Trustee Rowan, you've talked about, is there a demand? I have no idea. We lost the demand because we didn't bus kids. Did we do that to ourselves? I'm not looking at pointing fingers to anybody, but that was my impression, that we had a program. And so now we don't have a program, and I'm kind of wondering why. And so I really want to find out from Trevor a little bit more information. If it means then that the board wants to dig down a little bit deeper to find out if we can resurrect the program, that's something for the board to decide. But I would like to find out a little bit more information about it as to what it would mean or what it would take. And but I'm only one. I would like to get us some more information about the program. So I'm going to go round table to find out, is that something that we would want to task Trevor to get us a little bit more information about what it would take for us to go back. Just Trustee Dent, comments?
No, I think we gave Trevor a few takeaways here. I think, like Trustee Boyson was saying, I'd be curious with the enrollment, how many people decided to go the English route instead of the Ukrainian route because of transportation. We have talked about that on and off, I know, over the course of my tenure here, so 2.5, 3 years. So those would be the questions I'd want. And then I don't know if we want to look at polling our kindergarten enrollments to see what, if that would be of interest, and I don't know how to go about doing that, because certainly if we were to offer transportation, like Enola folks, Dugald folks, Hazel Ridge folks would all be eligible for that.
Trustee Rowan?
I think Trevor's got a lot of information there. I'm interested in a report. I wouldn't say that the program is like gone and needs to be resurrected. It might need a little bit of a life support, like a little bit of a boost to promote. But I mean, it is a function. I mean, it is actually a program. There are children in there taking Ukrainian, so it's not dead in the water here. But you could really, give it some loving.
So thank you. Wrong choice of words. Again, I'm going to go back to, I thought we had a bilingual program. Bilingual program would mean to me that 38 to 50% of their instruction was in Ukrainian. That's clearly not happening right now. And so I'm not so, whether we discontinued it 10 years ago or not, I'm just wanting to know, is there a demand and what it would take if we would go ahead and offer it again? And that's what I seem to see from everyone else around, but I'm going to ask around. Trustee Smith?
If there is an interest, then I say we go for it. Like, I grew up in a school, like Kathy thought was a school that had that option, because half of my side of the hallway was English, the other side was Ukrainian, and they had all the fun making the eggs and all that stuff, but I wasn't included. But yeah, they were full on immersion, so I don't know if we need any tips. They might have some, I don't know, but yeah. So if people want that program, find out if people want it and see what we can do.
I think the question is, we're looking for some more information from Trevor and seeing if, and trying to direct him that way. I just want to make sure that it's just not Paul that's asking for this, it's everyone else. Okay. Trustee Nichol?
This is going to be good. We get into what I was going to ask about. We talk about the Ukrainian program. Canada is a bilingual program, and there's no French program in Lac-du-Bonnet and Whitemouth. So if we're looking at Ukrainian program, which is not a bilingual language in official bilingual language in Canada, I think we should also investigate how we can have French in Lac-du-Bonnet and Whitemouth.
Trustee Nichol, are we talking about basic French or are we talking about immersion?
Well, the Ukrainian program right now is not bilingual in Springfield, but it's more than, they're giving more time than basic French. So maybe you can't have immersion French in Lac-du-Bonnet and Whitemouth, but maybe you can't have, I want a little bit more than basic French.
Okay. Thanks, Don. Trustee Rowan.
I would like to see some more information. I think that we have a very passionate group of parents out in the Springfield area that are trying to build this program. And if the 9 of us as a board see the benefit in it and there is uptake within the community, I would love to be able to help grow this program again.
Thank you. Donna?
Certainly, I would be in support of more information. And certainly if there's the interest, like has been indicated, I think it's definitely something we should be looking at.
Trustee Boykin?
I feel the same way. I think we need to know because we are advertising it as a bilingual program. Manitoba Parents for Ukrainian Education has in all their literature that we are a bilingual school in Oakbank. And I think we need to either change our advertising for this program or truly develop a bilingual program, one or the other.
Thanks. Robin?
More information would be helpful.
All right, so you know where we are. Okay, thank you. Thanks for that conversation. It was great, great conversation. We have our calendar to come on up with. So I'm going to, first of all, be it resolved that the board approve the school calendar for the year 2025-26 as presented, and once we get it on the table, we'll have motion, then we'll have some discussion. So I'll move in a second, and moved by Trustee Nichol and seconded by Trustee Smith. Questions?
I just have one quick comment on the calendar. The calendar that's coming back is the same one that was presented at the board meeting 2 weeks ago. But in the middle, we did have time to just go back because it is a bit of an ongoing question just around a soft start or smooth start day in September. So did have time to go back to all of our school principals and presented the option of having a smooth start day on September the 4th, I believe it was, the Wednesday after the traditional Tuesday admin day. I explained that the sacrifice would be that we would have to either trade the November 21st or the April 17th PD day to have a closure day for smooth start. Gave that option to our 19 principals. There was only 3 schools that indicated that that would be their preference. And so I think that was sort of clear data in terms of I think a lot of our principals would like to have the smooth start day. They don't want to identify it as a closure day, and they don't want to give up a professional development day later in the year. So that was the conversation that we've had over the last 2 weeks. So just wanted to update the board on that.
Trustee Rowan?
Trevor, I'm curious to know if in the past 2 weeks we've been able to access River East or Selkirk calendars to find out what their closures are going to look like in comparison to ours?
No update from either one of those school divisions.
Anything else before we call the question? So if we vote on this and there's no smooth start, Trevor, make sure that when parents call and ask those kind of questions, tell them that the principals own it. All right? This isn't, so part of it is they want to be able to make that decision, then the principals own it and the parents can talk directly to the principals. There? All right. So no more questions, we'll call the question. We'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you for that. Where are we? Enola School. So be it resolved. Be it resolved that the board approve in principle the Enola School grade 7 and 8 band trip to Moose Jaw on May 12th to 14th, subject to the superintendent's final approval. Moved by trustee Boyton and seconded by trustee Rowan. Any questions of this? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Thank you, it passed 7-0. 9-0, oh yeah, I knew that. There's 9 of us, sorry. McCall Poverty School, grade 11 and 12, trip to Nopeming Provincial Park on June 16th and 18th. Be it resolved the board approve in principle the McCall Poverty School, grade 11 and 12, trip to Nopeming Provincial Park, June 16th to 18th, subject to superintendent's final approval. Moved by trustee Smith and seconded by trustee Dent. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. And it passed 9-0. Thank you. Policy committee update. Trustee Rowan, do you want to give us any updates about policy?
The policy committee is bringing notice of motion to 6 policies. In addition to these notices of motion, I would like to bring something to the board's attention. In policy 10 on board evaluations, it talks about an evaluation tool that evaluates the board as a team, as well as self-evaluation that measures the contribution of individual trustees to the board's work. When we were having the discussion around this, we discussed the fact that yes, we do conduct our meeting evaluations. However, I'm not sure that we're entirely meeting the requirements of policy 10 to evaluate ourselves. So given this, I'm thinking it might be worthwhile for us to consider evaluating our evaluation process, and we may need to look at doing a deeper dive into our current processes so that we can meet the requirements of this policy.
So what are you suggesting?
There are a multitude of board evaluations that we could consider doing. I haven't looked into any specifically, but I know I've done some through other boards that I've been on, and it might be something that that's worthwhile doing. There's things that we can do either online, and then typically, or in my experience, the board chair is able to see it, and then they've gone back and they've done a reflection with the board members based on their answers, whether that's an evaluation of themselves or if it's an evaluation of how we're working as a board as a whole. But I think our process right now, we're not meeting what policy 10 is outlining, and if we're expecting the rest of the division to follow our policies, we need to lead by example and follow them ourselves.
So would the policy committee be prepared, and I don't disagree with you, would the policy committee be prepared to bring some of those potential evaluation tools forward for the board to take a look at?
We can take a look at that for sure. I'm not sure that we would necessarily have something to present at the May meeting, but by June, I'm sure we likely could.
And that's good. I think that the only thing is that our board policy says that we do this annually, correct? And so for us, if we're bringing it in June, then we don't really have it. So I would suggest if you could, see if you could bring something back to us, because it's a tool that we will need to use the end of May, beginning of June. But thank you for that. It is something that we haven't done very successfully. We've tried, but we haven't done very successful bring forward. But I think that there's a notice of motion. I don't think that this is for information for all of them. So I'm just going to go through this. We have a board operational goals, 8.8. We have board and superintendent relationships, 8.9. 8.10 is the board evaluation that you're talking about, Trustee Rowan. 8.11 is the policy on finances. 8.12 is the notice of motion for our policy on audits. And 8.13 is the notice of motion on assets. That's for information. Did anybody want to have it? Does anybody have any questions to any of those? You'll have it in your packages, but the notice of motion is there. If there's any questions, certainly you can bring forward, or you can ask any of those trustees that sit on the policy committee. Trustee Boyton?
Just one further note that policy 16, 17, and 18, finances, audits, and assets, was vetted through the finance committee before it went to policy.
Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome, so that we kind of know where we are. Anybody other comments on those notice of motions? I don't think, so if there's no other comments, we don't need to go through them, but there's a heads up for us as to where we are. Thank you for doing that. Nice work, policy committee. Anything else, policy committee? Okay. We're going to move on to the finance committee, 814, and this is trustee Nicol. Anything from the finance committee you want us to talk about? Prior to anything as we're moving forward, is there anything else besides 816, our indemnity bylaw, our check register? Is there anything else from the finance committee that you want to share with the board?
Because this is in April and we have an audit in March, we did not get a full package for the finance for April. If we wait until our next finance meeting, wait until sometime in the later part of May. So what we're going to do is we're going to get I think that's what we decided. We're going to get a draft finance package, which the finance committee will happen to see, won't see before it goes to all the trustees the next meeting, the first meeting in May, just so that we get otherwise we're waiting 2 months. This way it's really only a month and a half. And this is what we discussed last year, that because of the workload in March, that it's difficult for the finance committee to get a full report in April, especially when the meeting is on the 17th. And we talked about maybe next year we'll put the finance meeting maybe the very end of April, so that we would have time to get a full package.
Thanks, trustee Nicol. So we have an indemnity bylaw that's coming up, and we have a check register. So the indemnity bylaw that we're looking to motion in our first meeting, that people have had the opportunity to present to the finance committee and give you information, and this is the recommendation coming from the finance committee, correct?
We gave a notice of motion. We gave a notice of motion last month, but we had a finance meeting on Thursday, which means that we changed the notice of motion. Identity bylaw is not the same as the one you saw, so there is a change, and I'm going to just mention the changes offhand. I just have to open it up.
So can I read the motion? Can I read the motion to get it on the floor, and then we can go from there? Okay. So the motion is, be it resolved that the board approve the first reading of the indemnity bylaw 380-25. So I need to move by trustee Nicol and seconded by trustee Rowan. So Don, go ahead and speak to that. Yeah, go on. I think that it's great that if we can give the trustees a little.
So we did put a notice of motion, but then we did get some feedback from the trustees based on, you know, what was in the packages for notice of motion. So we did do some tweaking. So really it was based on what we heard from the trustees. So I don't think there's a need to go through it, but the trustees have had it in their packages.
But trustees only got it today.
Right. So if we have to...
No, I think that's fine.
So there's two things you can do. First reading is only first reading. There is second and third reading. So if you want to talk, we can pass first reading here, and if there's any changes, you have more time, and we can do any change in 2 and 3. Or the other thing is we just postpone first reading now. It doesn't come in effect until July anyway. So if you want, we can wait until the first meeting in May to the first reading. The second and third reading would be the second meeting in May. So we still have time before July the 1st. So what? That's what I'm asking. What do you want me to do to indicate?
So all I'm asking is that you share what are some of the changes to the bylaw, and I'm fine with moving forward with it tonight. It's coming from the committee, but I just want to make sure that everybody is understanding of it. And we're in public, and I want to go ahead and make sure that we're in public, as we're in a situation as we continue to deal with employee groups. I just want to make sure that it's that we're very above board in talking about it, talking about an indemnity bylaw, when I think that it's important to all of us that we have other employee groups that we're in discussions with. So go ahead, Don.
Okay, first of all, the last time there was a change was 2022, and we're going until 2028, so it's kind of a 7-year catch-up, we'll say, more or less. One of the things we put there was different is that number 8, it says a trust two must travel 1 hour or more round trip for a regular board meeting and charge a flat fee of $20 per round trip. So if it's more than 1 hour, we indicate the $20. The other thing we changed the lunch from, we were initially had put down $30 for lunch, and we rolled that back to $25. We thought that was probably more realistic than 30, so that's what we did there. And the other thing which I think I talked to all the members, that we made a change in the appendix. In the appendix, what happened is it said there was $80 you got for half day, and what happens is it's now $90, and a little bit later it's $100. So we got rid of the money at all and just put it down. Trustees are entitled to claim per diem of 4 hours less, which is a half day including travel time, or over 4 hours, full day including travel time, without the amount that's involved. Because instead of if you want to know the amount, you go to the bylaw rather than the appendix. It's already there, so we decided not to have it twice. And I think that's the only changes we made.
Thanks for the work that your committee is doing. Very good, eh? Tell me to stop talking, Paul. No, I appreciate the work that your committee is doing. There's lots of conversation with it. Are there any comments about it before we move forward from anyone? Trustee Smith.
And it says, an unlisted event occurs, a trustee may seek board approval. Yes, I understand that, but like youth parliament, feast, I don't know what that is. Art speak, I understand. But events put on by the division, we put on a lot of events. I think that if it's an event, we should get approval before we go, because it kind of opens us up beforehand. I ran into this event when I worked for our municipalities. Someone would go to, what are they called? Fall supper here and a fall supper there. And they would put it on, or they would, there was a play at this school, and there was a play at that school, and there was a play at this school, and they would put them all on. And it would rack up the budget. I think we need more restrictions on that line item, I think if you want to go to something, that's fine, you want to go to it, but I think it should be approved beforehand. It takes, what, you put it on the agenda, everyone approves, you go, that's fine. I don't think we should leave that line item so open. I think it's just, yes, this is going to be for several years. Yes, us around this board, we may not take advantage of it, others might. I just, I think we need to kind of reel that line in a little bit, that's all.
I guess the committee thought it wasn't too vague, and I checked with Trevor, so what, the definition, and that's what I always thought, a definition of a, put on by the division is somebody that, is something that the superintendent has designated, has sponsored or have helped put it on, which, and there's not very many. I mean, other than this year, the only thing, ArtSpeak's already, it already tells ArtSpeak here. The only other thing that we did this year, in September, we had the divisional PD day. Oh, we got that there underneath these 8. So we don't have very many of these. Like, for instance, fall suppers and all those things, that's not, we never put that divisionally wise. So it's only something that the division has put on that the superintendent has control over.
I was thinking more of like a play at Edward Stryer School, at the spring tea at Bossier Early Years School, or the Mother's Day tea at one of the colonies, that kind of thing. Like, I don't think that, we would never claim for that, right? But I don't want that to be, people to think that that's what you can claim for, right? I think we should have that closed down.
So I think most of the things that you're describing are things that are being put on by the school, not something that's being put on by the division itself. So I think that those are two separate things.
So I think that you've done some really good work here. And if there is a trustee that wants to say, there's an air band concert at my school, and I want to go to it, that trustee can go come to this committee and ask the committee to whether they would sponsor it or not, because it says if there's an unlisted event that occurs, the trustee may seek board approval by motion. That's then up to the trustees to go ahead and do that. On the flip side of it is, I'm also saying to you is that one of the things that we've asked everyone to do is to get engaged in our community. So, again, I would hope that you get into as many things in the school. Whether they're going to be covered or not, as of right now, many of them are not. But if you as a trustee feel very important about, hey, there was a great air band thing that I went to and I got to talk, et cetera, you would bring it up to this board, the board would then decide. But I think that everything else is pretty cool. So, I hear what you're saying, but if somebody wants to go to an air band concert, or if somebody wants to go to, there's lots of activities that are on that are very good. Reminder that we're trying to get as many of you to get in, and us to get engaged in our community. And some people will say, hey, I go to lots of these things, I want to do that. That's up to this board then eventually to decide. If someone would say, I went to an air band concert, would you support that? Everyone will say yay or nay, and let's move on.
As long as those are coming to the board. They don't just put it on the paper and submit it. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, I think that for the most part, Jody's not shy about saying that this works or this doesn't work. So Jody's not shy about that. However, you have the access about coming to the board to go ahead and ask for it. Any other questions? Good point too. Okay, there are none. Then we'll vote.
And one more thing was,
We're voting.
remember to take care of it, but I didn't see it.
Got to vote.
Remember to take it on that. It's not.
All right, so it got approved 9-0. We now have a second reading. If somebody wants to change something or feels very passionate about it, bring it stuff, and that's okay. And if my tongue is, my bottom lip is hanging out because I walk out the door because I'm not happy about something, that's okay too. All right, we good? Let's move on. Perfect. Thanks very much for the work. And the last thing that we have with the Finance Committee is we have a check register, do we not? So 817, be it resolved the board received a check register with a total amount of checks of $4,113,573.98. Reviewed April 17th by the Finance Committee for information as submitted. Motion by Trustee Nicol and seconded by Trustee Boyton. Any questions to this? Hearing none, we'll vote. And pass 9-0. Thank you for that. The Ed Foundation meeting, there's nothing, Jody. Our next meeting date is April the 30th, correct? The ad hoc land planning, is there anything, Trustee Rowan?
Just a reminder that we're going to tour the Niverville complex tomorrow, and ad hoc will be meeting after our tour there.
So, do we know, Sarah, about how many people are going? Am I asking you a loaded question? Sorry, Sarah. I shouldn't do that, Sarah. How many people are going? Because you know what, yeah, we shouldn't be doing that. We've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, we've got 4, we've got 5, we've got 6, we've got 7, we've got 8. So there's probably just Wilson, Nicol, and depends if Manuel gets out of bed in time to do it. So, and I'll let you know. What's that? Yeah, I know. But I have to drive like 3 hours to get there, so. No, okay, that's all we got. Sorry, Sarah. Okay. Thanks for setting that up. Appreciate it. Professional development. We have the Northeastman Municipal Forum. It's May the 12th. So Sarah's put this in our calendars. Can you please get to Sarah if you're attending or not, so that she can certainly share on our behalf as to where we are. Is that correct, Sarah? Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. CSBA conference, July 2nd and 5th. Everybody's aware of that, and we've got a lot to know where we're going. And then we had that professional development conference that 2 of our trustees traveled around the world to go to. So the capsule, they have that written report that's there. And thanks for that, the work that you guys did. Is there anything that you would like to highlight? Trustee Head.
I'm just going to make a comment based on what Trustee Nicol said earlier. When I was doing the report, I did go to the CAPSA website to see if the presentations were up yet, because during the conference they said they would be. And the information I saw there said that the information would be, the conference sessions would be posted 1 year from now. So I was shocked that you were able to actually see the information, because I was looking forward to adding another 60 pages to my report to include all that stuff.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share? Trustee Nicol.
There's a possibility, because I didn't read any of the stuff, that it could have been 2024. I didn't look to see whether it's 2025.
So it also said you had to be a member of CAPSUL in order to get in, and I didn't know our credentials to do that either, but it did say 1 year. Anyway, I'd like to again thank the board for the opportunity to go. I found it very enjoyable and learned a lot, and I don't think I would do it again, but only because it was fun the first time. It was good.
Trustee Boyton told me you wrote some Trustee Rowe.
Yes, thank you very much, board, for allowing us to go. Unlike Robin, this is like just makes me happy to go and hear about law, and it's totally my mojo. I love attending that conference because it really, it's very interesting to me. Our reports are quite lengthy. I have to say that there's lots of information there, but I really do encourage you at some point, even if it's not till summer or something, to go and read these reports, and if you have a chance to maybe check in on CAPSUL. The slides don't really always give you all the information, and there's lots of notes in there. But the keynote speakers were phenomenal. And there was a lot of information there about the future of AI, which was disturbing and alarming, and does actually talk about our board's actions, requirements we should be taking and preparing in the next 4 years for the wave. And there's also a lot about violence in schools, like with inclusive, exceptional needs kids and safe workplaces, and the balancing of this. And there's been a recent court case that was just resolved in New Brunswick just a few weeks ago that was the big buzz of the conference because it had very alarming and revolutionary rulings about what is that balance between inclusion and employees and other students' rights and our obligations. So there is some great information in there, and it was wonderful. So thank you so much.
One other item that I should have mentioned in the share or story is that SCI Band was in Banff at the same time on the Friday afternoon, Friday at noonish, sorry. And Diane and I took the opportunity to go walk to the, we didn't walk, we bused and then walked to the school where they were performing. And the elementary school first had their bands play to lead up to, as an introduction to the SCI bands. And there were 3 different groups there that played, at least 3, including the jazz. And very well done. And it was enjoyed by all. It was, that was a great experience as well to see that.
Thanks. Anybody have a comment?
I just wanted to thank both of you for the report. I thought it was very comprehensive. I really enjoyed reading it, and I got a lot out of the report. So thank you very much. I thought it was really well done.
No. Anyone else? The other thing that's in here about professional development, as I told you earlier, is that I am traveling around some of the different boards to find out from MSBA. One of the questions that I'm asking them, and it's not to go ahead and answer tonight, but it will be next time that we get together, will be what can MSBA do differently for Sunrise? So with our MSBA, you'll find on here that I'm going to ask the question, what's MSBA doing well at our conference, and what do they need to do differently at our conference? So just be aware that it'll be on it'll be a question for you to answer. I'll probably send it in an email. It's about collecting the information from Sunrise and sending a Sunrise response. One of the things that's come up in a few boards is when MSBA gives certain number of board ballots. So we get how many? So we get 7 board ballots. And they're very interesting about when Lord Selkirk brought up the fact that individual ballots to board ballots will do boards because MSBA trustees aren't members of MSBA, the board is the member of MSBA. And so why does it matter that we have 7 ballots when should it not be everybody voting together? Because it's the board voting together, not individual trustees. So that's been an interesting conversation that's been across with a couple of school divisions. Is saying that it doesn't matter whether we have 7 board ballots or not. Is that not a board that should be that should be voting as one towards whatever is there, and not saying 3 and 4 are going ahead and voting? So interesting. It would be something that we as a group should go ahead and comment and suggest, and then I'll come back. And thank you guys for sharing that information. I think anytime any of the 9 trustees get an opportunity to do some professional development, and get out and do some learning, and find out and beg, borrowing, and stealing ideas, let's go ahead and do that all the time. I often say beg, borrowing, and stealing. I probably shouldn't say stealing. Begging and borrowing and taking. So thanks for that. All right, so let's move on. No divisional financial summary report. There's the correspondence that's there for information. Nice to know information
I was at their provincials, and there was a large number of students in attendance, more so than the year before. They're currently looking at doing a fundraiser so that they can start planning for next year's events. There was a team that their custodians kicked them out at 5, even though they were still in the middle of playoffs, so they played their finals from the school parking lot. So there are a number of passionate students that are playing esports. It was not in our division.
Okay. Thank you for that, because my first thing said somebody got kicked out at 5 o'clock. But thanks for that. Don?
I just don't like the word large numbers, so could you give me a quality, like, was it 50, was it 100? Because large doesn't mean, what does it mean to me?
I want to say that there were over 400 there.
Nice, very impressive. Thank you for sharing, Melissa. Questions from the public. So we have upcoming meetings. Questions from the public. Joe, do you have any questions that are from the public towards you?
I'm just refreshing everything. Yeah, no question.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Boyton?
Can you just go back to the board correspondence that you received?
What would you like to read? Trustee Wilson.
I noticed that there was an invitation to lay a wreath on June 1st, and I would volunteer to do that if it is the wish of the board.
Absolutely. So let's be clear about how we handle it. I don't think we would ask anyone else to go ahead and do it in your ward. So absolutely. What do you need from us? Anything? Do we need a motion to do this?
So this one, because it's not a Remembrance Day ceremony, if it was a Remembrance Day ceremony, there would be no compensation. This one's outside the norm. So a board motion, and then we're good. So it's presented tonight. We can put a motion forward on the next board agenda, and yeah, or now.
So I guess don't do it now? No. All right. So to come back to why this big gap that I just made and tell the public now. So I would expect then that if there is this correspondence there, and Donna, this is great that you're willing to go ahead and do that. I would just say let's add prior to it, let's add a motion to it so boom, let's get it done. So if there's anything like that people want to go ahead and do, or stuff that comes on and the information goes to Sarah, and if it means that we want to put a motion on here because we want to go ahead and do that, let's put it on. This is exactly what are some of the things that I think that we need to do more of to be reaching out to our public.
I do this every year.
Don?
Yeah, I was going to say that this is not uncommon because I've been to Lac Du Bonnet many times for that June the 1st.
Okay. So we'll put it on, Don, I think that'll go forward, but the message that I got from glaring eyes is don't do it now, Paul, and don't screw up Sarah. And so we'll put it on the agenda for coming up. Fair enough? Okay, thank you. So questions from the public, we do not have to move back into in-camera because Trustee Harris ran such a smooth in-camera meeting. Thank you, Trustee Harris, for doing that. And thank you for starting us off while I was on the road. I appreciate that. So I think that we're good. We don't have any items from in-camera, correct? So we're good here. So our next meeting is May the 6th. All right. So we're adjourned.
When does that thing have to be laid? May 1st?
What thing?
June. Yeah, you got it.
So we're adjourned? Adjourned. Thank you very much.